Hello, everybody. Isaiah Goodell from the Goodell Multiverse. Welcome to another episode of The Dark Dimension. Got a new little addition to the table today. Just got back from a screening of Mortal Kombat 2. Highly suggest everybody go out and watch that movie. It is awesome. It's a great time. It's got its flaws, but you know what? Go support it because I definitely want to see a third one. This cast and crew were great. Some scenes were so good it made the entire movie. So anyways, let's jump into our episode here of The Dark Dimension, all right? I got 3 good movies for you today. One of them I don't own, so we're going to have a nice little picture of it right here for you or up here or somewhere along the lines so you can see images from this movie, but let's talk about it, okay? That's going to be our quick movie review of the day, okay? And that movie today, guys, is called Primate. It's directed by Joannis Roberts, or Joannis Roberts. Yeah, I'm awful with pronouncing names, guys, just so you know. So any kind of time that you think I said something wrong, or you think it's something that should be different, comment below and talk to me. Let me know. So this is a 2026 movie, just recently come out. I don't own this movie. I watched it on Paramount Plus. I suggest you go watch it, though. It's starring Johnny Sekwe, Troy Coulter, and Jessica Alexander. Quick little synopsis for this movie, guys, is a family's pet chimpanzee contracts rabies and turns into a brutally intelligent killer during a tropical vacation. It's exactly what it sounds like, guys, and this movie knows exactly what it's doing. So I've been wanting to see this one since I saw the trailers. The trailers of this movie looked great. It looked like a lot of fun. It looked like one of those that, you know, I love animals that go crazy, especially if it's a pet that's gone bad because there's a personal connection between the characters and the animal. And being a chimpanzee, I mean, let's face it, guys. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I've read a lot of books. I've got a very good understanding of, animals out in nature. And I'll tell you what, I think people misunderstand this group of animals: monkeys, chimpanzees, gorillas. I mean, their skin is like wood. They're like extremely strong little animals. A little monkey can do a lot of damage to a human being. So whenever you think you're big and tough and say, "Oh, I could take on a monkey, I could take on a chimp," I don't think you understand how strong they really are. So when you put in this factor that this one's out of control and doing what he wants to do, especially with the added aggression with, the whole thing that rabies does, which is a little, not so true. You do get aggressive with rabies. It's definitely a symptom of it, but it's not quite to like, you're psychopathic and you're smarter and you're doing now you're going to hunt everything you want to kill. And it's just you're aggressive, which means you don't get messed with because it usually messes with the mind more than anything else. But this isn't a lesson on rabies, folks. This is a wild creature feature movie that was made today. And why not? Who cares? Let's have fun with it. Rabies is not the first time this has been used. This was Cujo, pretty much, is the same thing. It's a home pet that gets rabies and turns on you. It happens to be a big dog, big old Saint Bernard that, how do you fight off a big, strong dog? Well, I'd rather fight a dog than a chimpanzee, that's for sure, because this is not a small chimpanzee. And they can do damage even without being out of control. So anyways, the tone of this movie, guys, it's a great tone. It kind of plays like a home invasion movie. I really enjoy that aspect of it because it's like the house is kind of its own character in the movie. We'll get to that in a second, but think pretty much, what if your pet chimp turned into a slasher villain? And that's kind of what this movie is. It's not so much an out-of-control rage. It's this thing, it uses the intelligence that it has already, being this family's pet and being involved in their life and knowing the home against them. And because of that, it feels like he sets you up for things. You can't trick him because, you're in his home. He knows it better. Your pet probably knows your home better than you do because of the time they spend in it and what they do in it and how often they're lurking around just checking things out. And this place, this chimpanzee's advantage. His name is Ben in the movie. So yeah, there's moments where you're like, just fight him. But then you realize, man, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. That might not be the answer. So that's kind of a fun part about that. And get out of here. We'll get better at throwing these cards, folks. That one pretty much stuck to the table. Give another little toss. Here we go. All right. So, first of all, let's talk about Ben before we go any further. Something that works real well in this movie is Ben himself. Because it's really uncanny. Because this movie has what you call invisible CGI, I'd like to call it. I think it's a term they actually use as well in the movie industry, where it's like 98% of this chimpanzee is actually a puppet and practical prosthetics, which I think is awesome. The fact that it's a puppet, kind of animatronic, makes it very uncanny. The moments where there is CGI during certain movements or things that it does, it hides in darkness because this movie is very dark. When I say dark, I don't mean in tone. I mean it's not a not very lit movie. I was going to say well lit, but it's well lit when it's well lit. So it's not, the problem isn't that it's dark. It's that if you want to do some good CGI stuff that you don't notice because maybe your budget is kind of small, so the CGI isn't like up to par, but it's just enough. This kind of movie's perfect for it because you can hide it in darkness or in shadows or in the puppetry of it. So you got the puppet and then you add little shades to it, right? Jurassic Park did this Steven Spielberg did this with Jurassic Park 1. Jurassic Park, by the way. And that's what made that perfect, is 90% of the dinosaurs in that were actually something they built and moved in to scale. And you just added the CGI for the real big moments or the things you really can't do, and for like little details on the creatures themselves. And you can tell that pays off a lot. This movie's similar. This movie looks almost flawless when it comes out to its work with CGI because it's hidden, it's invisible, and it's so great that it is a puppet. Like, I love it. When you get to the moments in the movie where they're doing more physical things with the ape, and you're seeing the chimpanzee a lot more, you see him Ben a lot more, you can just moments you're like, oh, that's definitely a puppet, but boy, is it good looking, man. And it makes for very creepy moments, to be honest with you. Works real well. So the setting of this movie is in Hawaii. In looking this up, I thought it was really interesting that they actually filmed this on a soundstage in London. And when you watch this movie, you'd think they were filming in Hawaii. They did a great job with any of the background scenes or the scenery shots, or even the breeze through the patios or outside when they're in the pool. And you hear, like, in the moments that are like scary and quiet, you hear the wind kind of going through the trees. You feel like you're outside. I was very impressed I was impressed because to find out that they filmed this mostly on a soundstage, it doesn't feel like it. I feel like they actually picked a house and filmed this in this house, but they actually built and recreated a lot of the sets for this in pieces. Yeah, I'm impressed. It actually really, really, really cool. Like, they do a real good job. You would think this was filmed on location, and I give it a lot of props for that, to be honest with you. You know, and that's where it gets into this whole, the house kind of has its own character to it. Even though it's not a legit house. I mean, you look at your classic movies like that where the house has its own character. Exorcist comes to mind. Conjuring movies come to mind. The home becomes a part of the movie, and it kind of becomes the character. The setting does. This movie does that. This house is kind of set up like a bit of a maze. It's definitely a higher end, a real nice pool that has like a walkway through like an area that has trees and different layered spots to it, and the rooms are very identifiable. Any scene you're watching in this movie, while you're watching it, you realize you know where you are in the house because they've shown you it already before, and it really is unique when you start piecing together where these people are hiding or where Ben might be and what's happening. So that is something I'm impressed that the house does feel like its own kind of character, and it really, really adds to that. I will have to say, the tension in this movie is intense. Sometimes I feel like it's a little drawn out. This movie probably could have been about 15 minutes shorter than it was. It's already kind of a shorter movie. But there's a good 15 minutes of just like a lot of waiting. a lot of silence of what might happen. And I struggle saying that's a problem because I gotta be honest with you, if it wasn't there, maybe the bill wouldn't be there, but then at the same time, I found myself going, "Okay, just let's get on with whatever you're gonna do," because I kinda, like, figure it out in the silence of, "Oh, you're being quiet, and it's like this because you're doing this next." And I wonder if that kinda took away some of the wonder of it, but it didn't hurt it because I gotta tell you, when the tension breaks and the chimpanzee does what he does, which is he I was surprised how many people actually die in this film. I really thought this was just gonna be a violent movie about them dealing with this. No, this chimpanzee kills a lot of people, and I gotta tell you, the kills are good. Um, they're ultra realistic, and they're truly scary, and they definitely did their homework on what would a chimp do when it come down to if he was attacking someone and killing them. And I think that they nailed this on like right on the head for sure. And the fact that the prosthetics is the best part. Even there's no CGI. Maybe one or two deaths have a little bit of CGI, but there's a few deaths that are like the prosthetic wise. There's a scene where he rips the bottom jaw of a guy's face off, and it's spectacular looking. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's gory, it's sick, it's gross, we shouldn't like it, but for the movie, though, it looked good because it was practical, it looked like it was really happening, and very uncomfortable scene, but might be my favorite scene in the movie, 'cause this particular person, this particular character does not realize that this chimp has got a problem, and he's, like, just outright sitting there with it, like, hanging out with it, and he's not aware that there's people hiding and they can't hear him, and it's pretty intense. Which is unique, to be completely honest with you, but it makes it ultra realistic when he does do the kills because they are great, and there's a couple of them are very brutal, and they're very meaningful. When I say meaningful is when these people die, it's like they get you to really know these people. I think this movie in particular does a real good job at you automatically are like, "Well, I don't want any of these people to die," and so when they do, it's actually there's actually the music even plays to it, right? Or it actually is kinda sad, you're almost like, "Oh, man, that's awful," like, "That's too bad that person had to go that way," especially the way this chimp does some of the stuff he does. It's pretty gnarly, guys, to be honest with you. I actually like the fact, though, too, in this movie that there's a lack of a message or a lesson. There's no, like, family bond thing here, there's no human versus nature lesson, there's no "we shouldn't own pets like this" lesson. It's just legitly a story of this family with this pet, with what's happening, and he just goes crazy. That's it. There's no real, you know, there's no real lesson. It's just a scary movie about a chimpanzee that gets rabies and starts killing the people around him. And it's kind of scary like that way, you know? And to me, it's a little refreshing because sometimes these movies like to have this weird message, and even especially older movies. But this movie doesn't have any of those, and I enjoy that for that reason. It's by no means, guys, is this movie a masterpiece, but it's a clear, very crowd-pleasing, new age creature feature, and I highly suggest it for those reasons. It may be good once, but I have to be honest with you, I'm not really clamoring to revisit this movie. Um, I think maybe someday I would with a friend. There's nothing in it that sticks out that makes it fun, like funny, rewatchable either. It's quite serious, and it's fine. It's not something I'd be like, "Oh man, we gotta watch this like right now." But definitely check it out on Paramount Plus. It should be something you've seen. It's worth a watch. It's worth one of those to say you saw it. There's some things in it that you'll really like. There's some moments that I really, really, really like. And then there's moments where I'm like, yeah, we've seen this before. It's okay. They did a good job. But if I have to be honest with you guys, I'm going to give this movie a good old 6 out of 10 because it's nothing brand new. And there's maybe 2 or 3 really cool creative scenes. Other than that, the kills and the prosthetics and the puppetry of the ape are what's worth watching. So check that movie out, guys. Primate, good one. Should have a picture of it somewhere, in the editing. We'll make sure you guys can see it. I personally will probably buy it for the collection eventually one day when it's in a bargain bin. It's not something I'm going to go spend, the $12 or $20 on for a DVD right now. So So with that said, let's move on to our highlight of the week, which is I take a movie that I really want to share with you before our creature feature. And that movie is going to be, excuse me, folks, I'm still dealing with a cold. It has been a rough week for me when it comes down to being sick. And I wasn't sure about filming tonight, but I knew I was going to at least try. So bear with me. But that movie is going to be Cloverfield. Now, this movie was by request. So there you are, Sammy. Shout out to Sammy. He was listening to the last episode, Dark Dimension, and he texted me saying, "Hey, one of my favorites is Cloverfield. I know this is up your alley too, so I want you to do this one, and it's one of my favorites as well. So let's talk some Cloverfield." So this movie is 2008. Name of it's Cloverfield. I'm sure everyone has seen this movie or heard about it. I'm pretty sure. Directed by Matt Reeves, who's done some really great stuff, including the Batman of recent. And I liked his 3 Planet of the Apes movies. They're good. The middle one more so than the rest, but they're really good. But this is starring Michael David, Mike Vogel. I'm going to say this person's name way wrong, but it's Odette Usama, Lizzie Kaplan, TJ Miller, and Jessica Lucas. So the synopsis movie, guys, is a giant monster movie shown in the vein of found footage of a giant monster randomly attacking New York City. A small group of friends filmed their experience. That's right, guys. You heard it correctly. It is basically a found footage movie for kaiju, for giant monsters. And why this hasn't been done before this movie, I don't understand, because it's fantastic and it's a perfect way to tell this kind of story. It's actually a fun way to tell this kind of story, but it's exactly what it sounds like, pretty much. So this was produced by J.J. Abrams, who's brought some real good stuff to us. He got this idea while he was in Japan on press. I think he thought to himself, they got Godzilla. Why don't we have something? I don't think he found our Godzilla in this movie, but he did find a great idea when it comes down to doing a giant monster movie, a different way of doing it. Because, you can only do them so many different ways, and this is such a creative way to do it. So it's shot largely on handheld cameras to mimic the found footage feel. It's clever in that too. They decided not to tell the cast about what the creature looks like, other than like maybe some photos, and they really had like things to look at, as in like little tennis balls. But he kind of like kept it secret from them, so they didn't really know what they were reacting to. They were just told to be scared. So left it up to that random chaos of how each individual character would react to seeing it, which would be different. If they all saw the same thing, they would all start to mimic each other on what they thought was the scariest part of that thing that they saw. But to just tell them it's a monster, it's terrifying, and you're scared, actually worked better, because they all kind of brought their own little imagination to it, which added to the chaos, because not everybody's going to act the same way when they see something, especially like this. When you see something coming at you, like a big giant monster in a city, and, it's barreling down the street and all that kind of stuff, you're all going to have a different kind of reaction. And I think that's a very smart way they did this. I actually like that they did this that way. It actually worked out real well doing it that way. The marketing of this movie is something we need to talk about, because it's next to genius. They did awesome with this. The trailers were very vague. They didn't tell you a lot. They barely shown you anything. You got the idea that it was like a monster. You got the idea that it was all going to be handheld, but they just did not give you any kind of answers. And that's what I liked. I liked when I first saw this movie, going into it, not knowing what I was getting into, made it so much worth it and so much better. That they went way above and beyond. They made websites for these fake companies that were created online that you can go and explore, like, websites of companies that make soda that have something to do with a different country, that are linked to just for this movie. Like, all of it's linked to this movie. And it made for some great Easter eggs to discover outside of this film that you don't even see in the movie. You can still to this day go look this stuff up for fun. It's really neat. They even went as far to like every character had a MySpace page where they had pictures and stuff where they talked about and things in their life and it gave you clues about what was going on when this all happened and all that kind of stuff. And very interesting. Very genius for at the time when the internet was still something that was being explored and everybody was having a good time with it. And this was another rabbit hole you can go down. When now rabbit holes are easy. Gosh, we can go down a rabbit hole on almost any topic now, and there's tons of things to find. But then it was like it was still kind of being explored and created and understood. And the internet was still kind of getting itself built that way. And it was pre the AI era. So like it was you had to kind of do this on your own. And I think they did a great job at doing it. I think it was a lot of fun. And I remember doing this stuff and looking this stuff up and getting involved because that's what made going to see this movie even more special because I had been like, hey, remember we watched this thing on this news thing on some website that had something to do with something that could have something to do with this movie. And it did. In the movie, you're like, oh, I remember that company logo. That's cool. That's the website we were on. But that was really the only significance it had. You could have seen this movie blind going in and not seeing any of this stuff and still get a great time out of it. But there was that little bit of nuance and funness to being a part of it, you felt like, because you could do the research. And that to me is genius. And that was all J.J. Abrams' idea. And I'm glad he did that stuff. So the creature itself, pretty amazing. Awesome stuff. Looks great. They did a great job at when and how you saw this creature. You stuck with this main camera, which was awesome because he was choosing what to look at, when to look at it, and they picked a couple key moments to really show you a lot. And you could tell when you're watching the movie, like, okay, they're really giving you a lot right there. But you needed a little because overall, I don't know how much you would see if this was truly ultra realistic. But they did a great job at doing that, and then they added in these parasites that fall off this creature that are like the size of big dogs. And I like them because that is more of an up close, more of a threat that you could see and adds to some really scary commentary of what's going on. And there's a specific scene in an underground area where it's real good and it's real freaky, using night vision of the camera and all that. And it's very smart to utilize the camera in that sense because it actually was a tool that they could have used, while they were walking through the dark was the camera itself. So they found good creative ways for the reason for them to keep this camera going and on. And it worked. And it was believable because you got caught up in the moments. You kind of forget that that the guy is filming this. And that's okay though, because they get you caught up in those moments for that reason. And the exposition they do with the creature is perfect. There's a scene where he's in like a Radio Shack and he points the camera at one of the TV news channels and it's telling you things about the creature that you wouldn't learn unless you were watching a typical movie. So like the exposition's quick and it's in the background, but it's there if you're paying attention. And when you see it, you understand it and get it a lot more and it adds to that and it actually makes it work real good. That actually, to me, that was kind of like the magic sauce of it, leaving us in the dark and not telling us where this thing came from, when it got there, how it got there, why it's there, what it's doing, what the effects of it are, the damage it's really doing, all that stuff we don't know about and we never do learn about. And I think that's the magic sauce of this is you really are with these people right up until the end because it is typical found footage movie. You really don't really have a lot of exposition. The stuff that you get is in there. You meet the military at one point, and you get a few things there, but that's still even very vague. Because truthfully, the military is actually kind of like, we don't know what the hell this is. We're just trying to fight it. And it's kind of interesting because you're on the front lines of the first major attack of a giant monster. So what would you know? It's not like the monster's going to stop, pull a sign out, and just announce to you, by the way, I come from planet whatchamacallit and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't know. Nobody would know. If it just happened now, we're not going to know anything. No, it's all about learning as you go, and that's kind of what this movie does. And with these particular characters and what they're trying to do to rescue one of their friends, you're not going to learn anything about the monster anyways because they're not in that situation. You're just seeing them go through it, and you kinda are with them during it, and that's kinda what makes that work. Most found footage films end this way, for this reason, because it wouldn't be found footage if it was somebody that had it and just kinda was like, "Hey, look what I filmed the other day." The idea that it's found footage definitely insinuates that these people don't make it. And of course, these people don't make it. And so this footage is their demise, but it's also what makes this genre work, right? That's what makes the Blair Witch so scary, which that's what makes this work so well, is because you understand that they're not around to tell their story, but their camera will tell all the story. And some of it tells so much of what we don't even know what's going on that it makes it feel classified in that sense. And you're kind of getting a peek behind the curtain. And I think that that works real well, you know. Um, it's debatable. This movie actually did have some sequels. It's very debatable how good they are. There's 2 sequels technically to this movie, and they're not in this form. I'll have to say that is a very missed opportunity. If I were Matt Reeves and or J.J. Abrams, I would have done a slew of these in this same format, just from different points of view of the same day. I'd be like, "Well, let's see the camera footage of, like, a camera mounted on a soldier's helmet," you know? That could be a whole other Cloverfield movie of the exact same events of the exact same day from a different angle. Could you imagine, like, a 6-movie franchise where the entire franchise is all on one event the same day and all of it's handheld, and by the end of it, you get a big, clear picture of exactly what happened, but you'd have to by watching all of them. I think that was their initial plan with this, but I don't think this made the kind of money they thought that it would, and because of that, they kind of abandoned it and tried to tell it in a different way. Either that or they didn't think of that, and to be honest with you, I wish they did, because if I was the creative behind this, I bet, "Listen, look, guys, we got at least 4 good movies of this, where we could just all the same day, all found footage, and then each one tells a complete story that gives you a little more information as you go." I think that would actually make that a lot of fun, but that's not what they did, and I think that that was kind of a missed opportunity, to be completely honest. So, with that said, though, this movie's great. It's a lot of fun. Boy, it's funny when it's funny, scary when it's scary. I enjoy this imagery in it that is very unique, and this is probably the top end of handheld found footage movies. If I had to give this movie a rating, guys, I'm gonna have to give it a good solid 8 out of 10. I think it's got some issues. Maybe the pacing, maybe the storyline, maybe some of the acting's a little uneven, but that's about it. Overall, it's a really good movie. Super 8 out of 10. Must see, must have. If you are a monster movie fan and you like things just destroying stuff and being on the edge of your seat, then this movie is a must watch and a must get. This should be in your collection. You should at least see this movie. I wouldn't say that about the sequels. Watch them anyways, but I personally am not going to even talk about them on this channel. I didn't really care for them so much. But I really think this is one that you guys should pick up and check out. I don't know where it's streaming right now. I'm not so sure if it is. I personally have it on DVD, so I can watch it anytime I want like that. But yep, 8 out of 10, Cloverfield, guys. A lot of fun. It's a pretty good one. All right, with that said, gonna move on to what inspired this whole channel to begin with. Honestly, this creature feature section is the reason why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to talk about just some of the crappy creature feature movies out there that are still worth watching and a lot of fun. But I also said this is a great time to review new horror movies that I watch, and it'd be a great time to do a main event on a movie that I think you should be seeing, or horror movies that I think are really good. So that's why it's the 3-movie structure that we have. But let's get to the creature feature, because it's probably one of my favorite parts. So today's creature feature, guys, it's a good one. It's a fun one. It's one of my most favorite topics. I got a couple tattoos of this fella, so it's a lot of fun. It's a Bigfoot movie. It's a movie called Abominable. 2026's Abominable. Oh boy, are you guys in for a treat. So this movie is directed by Ryan Scriffin, starring Matt Malloy, Haley Joel, and the great the absolute fantastic Lance Henriksen. I love Lance. He's been some of the best stuff. The Terminator. He's been in a Predator movie. Lance Henriksen has done some really good movies, guys. You guys should watch anything he's in. It's so good. So this movie, though, is a man recovering from a spinal injury is confined to a wheelchair in a remote mountain cabin and realizes a Bigfoot-like creature is stalking and killing people nearby. Yeah, guys, you guessed it. That's what it's about. It is about a killer Bigfoot, and it is real pissed. And from what I gather when I watch this film is this Bigfoot doesn't like loud noises. There's no other reason for this Bigfoot to be doing what it's doing except for the people next door that move in is like a group of like sorority girls, and they don't move into the cabin, but they're on vacation and they come up to this cabin because they're going to go skiing and all that fun stuff. And they just do nothing but play loud music, loud Jeep, and they're up there hollering and hooting and playing loud music. And this Bigfoot's like, hey, man, I've had enough of that crap. And he just comes out of the woods and he just starts stalking them and killing them one by one. And it is glorious. So let's talk about how this movie feels. It feels very low budget. It has a slasher kind of stalky feeling to it because it is like this thing watching you from the woods, and it's kind of fun that way. But it definitely feels low budget. So guys, when you watch this, it's like, oh boy, this maybe had $15. Like they did a decent job with the budget that they have. And it knows what it is. This movie does not pretend to be anything it's not. And that's my favorite type of movies, guys. You don't have to be perfect. This movie is another one of them tonight. Mortal Kombat. This is not a perfect movie. If I was to be crazy and weird about it, we'd probably say it's not good. But it is good because it knows exactly what it is, and it plays to that. This movie's the same way. This is definitely higher quality than this movie, though. But we'll get into that when we, on the multiverse, the Goodell Multiverse, we're going to talk about that movie we just saw tonight. So let's get back to Abominable. But yeah, this here, it knows exactly what it is. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. And that's what's great about it. It even gets cheesy and they just lean right into the cheese. And it's like, good. Eat it right up, get the crackers, grab the pepperoni. It's perfect for that, you know? And it has a unique love letter in it to Hitchcock. This movie is basically Rear Window, where your main character that you're with the whole time is a guy in a wheelchair that's watching out his windows, and he can't warn nobody. You know, you'll see why he doesn't have a phone. I don't want to give too much story away, but there's kind of a jerk nurse that's with him, which is fine because we're going to talk about the guy anyways. So there's a nurse that's with him who's kind of a jerk, and he won't let him have a phone. In fact, his way of getting him to shut up when he starts complaining about seeing a monster outside is to sedate him. So not a really nice person. But this guy witnesses things through the window and watches it go on. And that's kind of what Rear Window is from Hitchcock, is someone who's witnessing a murder out of their window, and they're disabled and they don't know how to, what to do about it, trying to get help from that person. But it's perfect for that because it stays with this and you're staying with him. So yeah, there's moments where you go out of it in the horror moments, but there's actually scenes in this where you see this Bigfoot killing somebody through his binoculars. Like the actual camera lens is the binocular shape and you're watching it happen as he's watching it happen. And I think that's cool because it feels very voyeuristic and has that, you can't do anything, or you feel helpless kind of feeling to it while you're watching this beast do some terrible things to these people. Because this thing does not show any mercy. It's real fun that way. It's got kind of that cry wolf feeling to it because, like, he no one believes him. The guy that's with him is kind of a jerk, so he's not going to believe him. So he doesn't know who to tell. Feeling physically helpless is definitely a big one in the face of that kind of horror. It's a great slow burn with a lot of dread that once it gets to the killing and to the ridiculous stuff, it pays off. Like, you're talking about some of the most fun Bigfoot killing people moments, to be honest with you. Let's talk about the Bigfoot for a second before we talk about the kill. So the Bigfoot, this is what works. This is what, this is the pattern, guys. You're going to find this out the more you watch my channel. The pattern with me is the less CGI, the better. And this movie has none. I mean, I think there's, if there's any, it's very, very little. I got to be honest with you. I watched this again this last week, and I don't think I can point out a moment of CGI because it's practical effects over CGI. This Bigfoot is literally a guy in a giant costume and like an animatronic face. And it works so good. It looks ridiculous. He looks like a really drunk coal miner named Dave, but it looks ridiculous. His eyes are never quite right and it's kind of googly. Yeah, guys, it's awful. I mean, I'm telling you, it's an awful movie, but it's not awful like in the sense of unwatchable. The kills are super creative and they're very practical and fun, and some of them are very uncomfortable. And I have to tell you, this might have, if I sometime I'll have to do like a top 5 best deaths or craziest deaths or funniest deaths, because this might have one of my favorite deaths in a creature feature movie ever. There's a particular scene where he picks this person up and the Bigfoot's mouth opens up real wide and like the bottom jaw of the Bigfoot goes inside the top part of the guy's mouth and the top jaw of the Bigfoot goes on the guy's forehead, and then he crunches down and eats the guy's face right off his head in one chomp. And it is fantastic. It looks so good. The practical effects to it. I mean, a buddy of mine, we slowed this down and watched frame by frame of like when the real guy is there and the thing is on him, and it's smooth, man. It's hard to find when they switch out the person for a dummy. It's hard to find where they switch it out because it looks so good. And part of it was like maybe some of that CGI. I don't know. When I watch it, I don't think there's any CGI in that scene. And I'll tell you what, guys, this movie alone for that specific 30-second clip of this in this movie is worth watching the whole movie for. Do yourself a favor and watch the whole movie for that 30-second clip towards the end when he eats this guy's face. Because first of all, if you just went on YouTube and found that clip, yeah, you're going to see why I think it's cool, but you're going to want to know why I love that he eats this guy's face. Because there's a lot to it. It's a build up to it. And this guy deserves it. He needs his face eaten. And if there's anyone that's as a jerk can be, it's this guy, and he needs his face eaten. And I'm telling you, it's real great. But yeah, all the kills are like this. He stomps on somebody and their guts come flying out. He pulls somebody through a window and they fold in half. And it's like all of it is very practical and real looking. And because of that, you laugh, you roar laughing. It's very fun to watch with somebody. And that's why. Because you will be like, oh, that is so ridiculous, but it's so fun and cool to watch. And so I give this movie a lot of props for that, if that's what it's trying to do. It did really, really good. The casting of Lance Henriksen in this, he was in Aliens, he was in Pumpkinhead. Jeffrey Combs, who was in Reanimator. We even got Dee Wallace in this from The Halloween. It adds like a cult horror legitimacy to it. Like it makes it very legit. I'll say it like that. It's seeing those big characters in it like that is really cool because they've done a lot of this kind of genre, and to see them show up in a movie that's this low budget and crazy just means that they just have a love for this kind of film, and it makes anyone who watches it think, oh, cool. These guys thought it was cool, so it's got to be cool. And that's what does make it really cool, to be honest with you. So if I had any real criticisms of this movie, to be honest, it's very uneven in the acting. There's great acting in this. Then there's some acting where you're like, ooh, you can tell this is like their first movie kind of thing, which is fine because once again, it's a creature feature, guys. It's not supposed to be good, to be honest with you. There's some tonal shifts they're very jarring. Like, oh, this was kind of weird. A couple scenes that happen that kind of make you go, I wonder why we got that scene. Could have used it without that scene and made it a little cheesy. But once again, this is exactly what this movie's supposed to be for that reason. I don't think it's lost itself in any of that, to be honest. It scratches that gritty creature feature itch. Like if you want to have that kind of movie where you get to see animatronics at its best, kills with the prosthetics at its best, a decent story, a plot that really doesn't have any plot holes other than why is this Sasquatch doing this? Well, like I said, they got a little too loud. That's the only reason I can think of. They're loud. And because of it, he shows up and he just does this damage. At the end of it gets a little wacky when it comes down to how they defeat this creature. Yeah, it gets a lot out of control, but that's what these movies are supposed to do, and it does a real good job. I think it's classy on how it ends. I like the end of it. So a practical rating, guys, like honestly, if I had to give this a real rating in the real world, yeah, it's like a 2 out of 10. It's not good. It's not good. But the creature rating, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is up there. This is one of those, if you like this style of movie, if you like my creature features aspect of things, this should be in your creature feature list. I highly suggest it. I think you should pick this movie up. I don't see it on streaming anywhere, so I had to pick it up on DVD, but I've owned this for quite a while. I got this back when it first come out, and I've probably seen this thing, I don't know, half a dozen times. This is the kind of movie when you say, "Hey, guys, we gotta stay up late. What are we gonna do while we're waiting for something? And let's just throw in this piece of crap," or have had a few too many beers. I wanna watch something and laugh and have a good time, but I don't wanna get anything too serious. I don't really want a comedy, but, this here is perfect because you will laugh and you'll have fun with what you're seeing. A great, great flick. So there you have it, guys. That's the 3 movies of the week. Go watch Primate on Paramount Plus. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy the movie. Great puppeteering. Sit down. If you've never seen Cloverfield, I don't know where you've been, but if you like giant monster movies, this is a must-see. Watch this movie. It's a must-see, must-have. Should be something that you're very familiar with if you're into monster movies. And, of course, for your creature feature, pick up Abominable, guys. This is a great time. Watch it with some family. Watch it with some friends. It's a great popcorn. Look forward to laughing and have a good time, and check out that scene where he eats face. It is perfect. The guy deserves it. It's a great scene. And hey, thanks for joining me, guys. Pretty soon here, I'm going to get into the Halloween stuff. I want to do a special presentation of the 3 Halloween movies that David Gordon Green did, that were the new sequels to the Halloween, because I think they get a bad rap. So look for that also this week coming out. Look for me on the Goodell Multiverse, where we're going to talk Mortal Kombat, and of course we're going to be hitting all the Marvel stuff the way it should be. And hey, thanks for seeing you guys, and I hope you have a good night.